Bada bing, bada boo.
It looks like a hot air balloon, but it's so much smaller. And it doesn't come in those like fun rainbow colors. It's just a giant white balloon with a big black bag attached at the bottom, just drifting into the air. People are standing outside. They're covering their eyes from the sun, but also they're trying to get a good look at this thing. What is this thing? It's so anticlimactic. It's slow. The balloon is slow, but it's coming down. And it's also so random. Like, what is this giant balloon? And it's not just one. Over the span of 5 months, thousands of balloons, 5,500 giant balloons just keep mysteriously floating in the air in different parts of the country of South Korea.
How big are they?
I would say it could probably fit 2-3 people in a balloon.
Oh, it's big.
Yeah, in the beginning, there was panic. I mean, some regions had to shut down the airspace. They delayed all flights. Some regions, the mysterious balloons, they start triggering these air raid alerts. But later on, it just becomes the way of life. Every citizen gets an Amber Alert. Balloon flying in your region, beware. Some of them land peacefully on the street, making people gather around. Another one smashes into greenhouses. Others start breaking down mid-journey and they just start spewing stuff onto the street. A few land near police buildings. 2 do end up causing a big stir because they land on the grounds of the South Korean presidential office, which means they gotta be investigated thoroughly. The balloon itself is just a balloon. It's what's attached to it that's weird. There's no weapons. There's no like biological warfare. That's what people thought. It's just a ton of waste paper. Think about if you were to get all of your home trash bags and then attach it to a hot air balloon and send it on its merry way. There's cigarette butts, used toilet paper, cut up fabric, and there's also feces. Animal feces, human feces, feces with live parasites like roundworms. I mean, I guess it's maybe, if we're dramatic, could be considered biological warfare. It's poop balloons. That's what they're called. Sent to South Korea by North Korea. This is in 2024. Last year, for 5 months, when we were in Korea, we were getting alerts about the poop balloons that were being sent down near us. North Korea is sending a message. Some of them have pamphlets inside with derogatory messages for the South Korean president and the first lady. And naturally, this becomes a huge diplomatic issue with Kim Jong-un's own sister publicly responding. And she states rather sarcastically, "I cannot understand why they're making a fuss as if they're being hit by a shower of bullets. It's a genuine gift of sincerity. It's what they like to call an act of freedom of expression."
That is wild.
To be fair, they are not bullets. They are balloons. It's less lethal. But North Korea, this is technically a reactionary measure since South Korean activists have been sending balloons filled with anti-regime pamphlets, thousands of USB drives containing K-pop songs and K-dramas. They called it the Balloon Wars. And this is just one of the many things unfolding in South Korea in 2024. Because around that same time, equally, if not maybe more concerning, is the woman that was just released from prison. May 14th, 2024. An older woman is released from prison. I mean, maybe she knows, maybe she doesn't know that journalists and investigators are all watching her. They're following her when she gets out of prison. If you don't know this woman, you would think she's a high-profile serial killer that just got released. Why are we all following a senior citizen that just got released from prison? Aren't there crazier criminals we should be stalking? The first thing she does after being released from jail is go deep into the mountains of South Korea. And it's not just a random mountain spot. It's a very specific place with a very specific goal and energy. She's got to walk through this concrete tunnel, then walk through the path leading to this massive stone pillar, probably 3 times my height. And it's got writing on it. It looks like a giant tombstone. It says, "Final resting place for souls." It's her family's ancestral burial ground. She wants to go visit her ancestors. That's the first thing she does after being released from prison. Reporters go back a few days later just to see, are we missing something? Like, why is this the first place she comes? It's weird. I mean, obviously, they can't walk around and browse while they're following her that day. So they come back, and the first thing they see is this tent-like structure on the left. It's like a sun protection tent, but there's nothing under it except a single chair. And then hanging from the sides of the tent, you have these paper lanterns. All of them have this yellow slip of paper, like a banner attached to the bottom, and there's names on there. Typically in Buddhist tradition and practice, you can buy these lanterns. You can have them put your name or whatever you want written hanging from there. It brings good fortune and happiness. And there's two very notable names there. But the thing that starts freaking out the reporters is you walk a few more steps and clearly the whole pathway, this whole place is meant to lead up to this building. It just leads to a pink square building, like baby pink, Barbie pink. It's like two squares smashed together. The architecture is rudimentary. You cannot create a more simple looking building. It looks maybe 2 stories tall, but then you look at the building and you go, something's weird about this building. There's no door. Why is there no door to the building? It did take me a second to realize that there's no doors. I think my mind just naturally assumed there would be, which is strange. I mean, what happens if there's a fire? How do you even get in? What's the point of this building? There are 2 windows at the front side of the building. They're very small, kind of like jailhouse windows, but without the bars. They are positioned directly at the center of the building on top of each other. There's no other window on any other part of the house, on the sides, on the back, nothing.
No door, just 2 tiny windows.
Yeah. And it's this Barbie pink color. It does indeed get stranger as you walk closer. There are these tombstone looking things surrounding the entire baby pink house. One of them there has this giant plum tree carved onto the stone. And next to that are 7 bottles of soju, like vodka, opened. The soju's still in there. This is not litter. It looks like an offering of sorts. The reporters, they start looking, and the plum blossom tree, a lot of them note, sometimes this could be used for shamanistic practices. It means blessings, but this is clearly not a regular shamanistic building. It feels like there's a lot of dark energy here. It feels like someone practicing dark shamanism, which in that case, the plum blossom is associated with lethal power and as conduits for rituals involving malevolent spirits. Back in the day, people would use plum trees, load up all their misfortune. So like if you have bad luck, you get a plum tree, you put all your bad luck in there. You do a ritual where you take all of your misfortune, put it into the plum tree, and then bury it with dead people. So in the afterlife, these deceased people will have your bad luck. You're passing it on. And they can't even say no because they're deceased in this world. There's various stone pillars around the house. Then surrounding those carvings, you have these steel flag poles without flags. And if you look closely, there's a lot of dragon emblems. Dragons are usually closely associated with kings. Typically, only the royal family and associated high officials were allowed to use dragon motifs in their clothing. That's it. And then lastly, you just see this puffer jacket just hanging outside. Nobody's wearing it. It's not
Where?
hanging like outside of this pink house, outside of the poles, on like a stand. Like one of those basket chairs. But it doesn't look like, oh, I was wearing my puffer jacket, but it got hot, so I threw it on the chair. It looks like intentional.
Really?
In shamanism, it's usually a warning to outsiders. This is our home, do not enter. Many shamanistic experts had back and forth conversation. What does the pink mean? Are you sure the plum blossom tree is the dark shamanism? What does this building symbolize? What does this mean? There's so much back and forth. But one thing that people noticed is that this pink color looks so oddly similar to another case that we covered, the Sampoong Mall collapse. It's a department store in South Korea that collapsed in the middle of the day with close to 1,500 shoppers and staff all getting trapped. Ultimately, 502 people died in the collapse. The mall's outside exterior was painted the exact same baby pink color.
You are freaking kidding me.
And now there's this temple in the middle of nowhere. And what were the names outside? Yoon Suk-yeol and Kim Gun-hee. Why are the names of the South Korean president and the first lady outside this temple? And is it just a coincidence that they live in the apartment building built on top of the Sampoong department store collapse?
What?
This is the current ongoing case of the newly impeached South Korean president and the first lady. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. They are volunteer-based and provide free medical care and humanitarian aid to thousands of children. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we'd also like to thank our listeners for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. Disclaimer, this case has super brief mentions of animal abuse. There is discussion surrounding shamanism, and I just want to be clear, I 100% support freedom of religion, spirituality, beliefs, and any support comments or criticisms are not ours. And also, I do think even with more widely accepted mainstream religions, there's always limits to it. I think freedom of religion and spirituality is great until you're harming other people. This is also not an analysis or a think piece regarding Korean or even US politics. We're just merely covering the current events that have shaken South Korea recently and reporting on what's been happening because everybody has been requesting it. Oh, and another thing, I do think that the title of president is one that should be earned through trust by the people. Many times in this episode, I'm going to be referring to people by their highest political titles, not because I think they're necessarily deserving of that respect, but just to highlight how corrupt some of these people are. Because how can you be in the highest office and commit these types of crimes? Okay. So with that being said, let's get started. Why would someone suddenly start using 75 times more water in their house? Are you taking 75 times more showers? This is what South Korean citizens are debating all week long. According to Seoul City's Seoul Water 2023 data, the average weekly water usage for a two-person household is about 3 tons of water, so like 804 gallons of water. But for the past 7 days, a full week after impeached President Yoon and First Lady Kim are dismissed from the presidential residence in South Korea, they use over 75 times the average consumption of water. 75 times.
In their blue house?
They don't live in the blue house. They live in a different residential palace.
Oh. So you're saying that after they were impeached,
yes,
their water usage became 75 times more
than the average two-person household. So now there's debates because this information is released to the citizens. Is it very clear that they have 75 times their water usage, or maybe they're just water wasters from the day that they took office? It's unclear, but the fact that these reports were released have citizens in a freaking chokehold. I mean, instead of 804 gallons, they use 60,193 gallons of water in a week. What the hell do you need that much water for? You would quite literally need to have 15 faucets running at once for over 24 hours to use that amount of water. Netizens start speculating, what the hell? What are they using it for? And the main speculation is drugs. Why else do you need that much water? Think about it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, unless you're watering down and flushing drugs down the drain. Videos start going viral with borderline conspiracy theories that tie the president and his wife to one of the biggest drug smuggling operations in South Korea, to which other netizens are arguing, no, I mean, yeah, he was impeached. However, do you think that really only they live there? I'm sure security guards, staff, probably more than 100 people live in that house. Of course, the amount of water is going to be used. Others disagree, stating, no, they wouldn't release this information if it didn't mean something. Another comments, to me, I think it's either going to be drugs or animal sacrifices, which is kind of random. But they talk about bloodletting. It's when you have to make an animal bleed out, and that's how they die. And that's typically reserved for really dark, frowned upon shamanistic practices. So does this come out of nowhere? Why do so many citizens just assume the president and the first lady are either cartel-level drug dealers or doing animal sacrifices in the presidential residence? Do you know how to predict the president?
No.
Okay, so forget about the policies. Sometimes it's rather simple. They say it's height. Since the 1900s, the taller of the two candidates has almost frequently won presidential elections, to the point where researchers think that we must have some sort of unconscious bias. The taller one must be better in our eyes. The US has not elected a president that was below the average national height for the past 120 years. You're just telling me there's not a good short politician? Maybe, maybe not. But what if it's more niche than that? We can't be that easy to control. That's crazy. Some say it's body language and speech cadence. Former President Barack Obama, for one, when he's talking, he probably has the best usage of hand gestures. He will literally point using his thumb and index finger to point out the point that he's making. He's quite literally making a point. When he talks about time spans or spectrums, he will do wave-like hand motions. It signals to the audience subconsciously that his nonverbal communication and his verbal communication is perfectly in sync, which makes him perceived as more trustworthy. It's that. It's height. Sometimes they study the pitch of the voice, with voters generally preferring lower pitched voices, deeper voices. People have even spent their whole careers studying rhythms of politicians' speeches and cadence. There are people that will go word for word, and they also study word usage. Each president's presidential feel is going to be a unique blend of a ton of different elements. I mean, should this be why they're voted in? No, but it just seems like something people study because why is it happening? Like the fact that apparently voters like the words heart, hand, journey, dream, rather than more conceptual words like commitment, help, endeavor, idea. Side note, I do want to mention charisma does not mean someone is likable or charming. It just means that they have a personal ability to arouse loyalty or enthusiasm out of others. It doesn't mean they're a good person or that they're so likable. People can be very divisive and charismatic, like cult leaders. And speeches are where people can easily compare these candidates. With JFK being considered one of the greatest orators of all time, he's probably known as the quintessential charismatic president. Ronald Reagan, his speeches are heavily studied. His cadence is known as campfire storytelling. The way he talks, it sounds like he's at a campfire. Bill Clinton, his speeches are always more conversational. Studies show that the audience always felt like he was talking one-on-one with them during a presidential race. He's the type that looks very at ease talking to leaders, but also just random retail workers at the diner. They say his cadence style is Southern porch talk. It's likely that he practiced this, there are speculations, when he says America. Sometimes it comes off more like America versus America to sound more folksy. And of course, Barack Obama, analysis state that he was never as comfortable as like Bill Clinton with crowd work. That's what they call it. So they say after the speeches, when you see Obama working the crowd, he's nowhere near as charismatic as Clinton, but his speeches usually are better perceived. His body language during it, his voice, he never loses his cool composure. That comes off very passionate, compassionate, but also in control. They say his cadence almost has this jazz-like quality to it. So a lot of people speculate the reason why Americans hate politics so much right now, amongst obviously every other major reason why we hate it, but it might be that there are just really no good candidates with great charisma, is what some studies are saying. We've kind of walked away from that. Presidential speechwriters, they will even work on making sure someone comes off charismatic. They will write pauses into each president's speech. Usually the rule being, do not pause longer than 3 seconds or else you risk losing the audience. And some presidents, they like to mix up the rhythm. So there's like 3 different types of rhythms you could go with. So for example, the words, it's time to heal, pause, to build. But there's also, it's time to heal, pause. It's time to build. Then there's, it's time to heal, to build, to conquer. It's like, there's very different structures to say the same thing. Others prefer repeating opening sentences. We will face challenges. We will overcome them. Sometimes it's a triple structure. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. It's all about the rhythm. They say the best speeches for presidents are actually only 50% substance, 25% storytelling, and 25% rhetorical flourishes. Rhythm, cadence-driven, rhythm-driven viral sound bites. That's what they're looking for. So May 10th, 2022, the 20th presidential inauguration ceremony takes place in South Korea, where one of the most controversial candidates is about to take office. Some notable attendees are the former First Lady, the wife of the 17th President Lee. Unfortunately, her husband, former president, could not make it as he is in prison for corruption. And the prosecutor that put him in prison is the new president. Another notable attendee, Park Geun-hye, the 18th president of South Korea, She was able to make it, even though she was impeached for corruption, and the prosecutor that investigated her is also now the president. Then the former president and his wife, Moon Jae-in, this is the last president. Thankfully, they were both able to make it. However, they are both being currently investigated. So please stand for the newly elected president and the new first lady of South Korea. President Yoon comes in dressed like any other person in the room, honestly. But the first lady comes in dressed all in white with a white matching face mask. Her stature, she's very petite. The way she dresses, the way she does her hair, it's very reminiscent of like a Korean Jackie Kennedy. You would almost think that this is her inauguration, the way she walks in.
Why is she wearing a mask?
This is around, well, it's 2022.
Oh, COVID time.
Yeah.
Got it.
Now, the president takes the stage, and his very first speech as the new president of South Korea, he leans into the microphone. Based on the values of freedom, human rights, fairness, and solidarity, I will steadfast create a country where the people are the true masters. Thank you. The crowd starts going crazy, and President Yoon's wife, First Lady Kim, I mean, I know this is like societal norm. I don't know why. I hate it. Listen, but society just loves a supportive, brainless first lady. They just want to see her clapping and smiling like, I love my husband. I love this great country. But something about her, she's just stoic. She's not cheery. She's not that, oh my gosh, I love making cookies for Christmas. She just looks as if she's deep in thought. December 2024, it's like the biggest concert in the world. Just a sea of people out in the cold in their puffer jackets. This is December in Korea. It's like snowing. There's filling the entire street. Multiple blocks are shut down to the point where you think, is every major K-pop idol performing at this concert? It doesn't make sense. There's old people, there's young people. They're holding up light sticks. There's this massive stage with a screen and they're blasting K-pop.
You're talking about Christmas Eve, December 24th?
No, December 2024.
Yeah,
it's before Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
but they are singing Christmas songs too. And you have this random old guy coming out to play his guitar and sing songs. And then you find out that this random old guy is a senator. And you're like, what's happening? What's going on right now? And people have their light sticks and they're all buying coffee for each other. This is not a K-pop concert. This is a protest in South Korea.
What do you mean?
This is how Koreans protest.
By playing K-pop songs?
Yes, and it's like a sea of people all protesting. Like the whole city was shut down.
Okay, and then sound music are playing like people's speakers. They're just holding a speaker.
No, there's a whole stage. There's a sound team. It's literally a concert. There's a giant screen. They're singing Feliz Navidad, but the new lyrics are Yoon Suk-yeol has to fuck off, then it's a Merry Christmas. Kim Gun-hee has to get punished, then it's a Merry Christmas. The right wing has to be disbanded. Impeach him right now. Impeachment is the answer, else the country will be ruined. And then it's a Merry Christmas.
Okay.
And this all happened because previously, a few days prior, 3 helicopters, they just land on this big lawn. It's like near midnight. 3 helicopters side by side. It looks like an action movie. The doors open. You got teams of guys in camouflage running out. And this is all over the news. There's tanks coming down the street. There's more helicopters in the air and they're shining that little spotlight down as if they're looking for someone. And this is happening at the National Assembly building. There's a 70-year-old man wearing a mask and a hat and it's cold. His hands are freezing. He called his wife before he came here. And he said, look, anything can happen. I don't know what's going to happen right now. Love you. Things are not looking very promising.
Who is this?
He's like a 70-year-old man. He's trying to get into this building. He looks to his right. There's another old guy. All these young people are physically lifting him up and throwing him over the fence so that he can get into the building.
Okay.
There's thousands of people surrounding this place. I mean, people are having some very interesting interactions. A high-profile woman on mainstream news medias is being held at gunpoint. There's a rifle pointed square at her chest and she's pissed off. She grabs the rifle and pushes it off. And she's like, are you not ashamed of yourself? She's talking to the soldier who just pointed a rifle at her. The soldiers have one order. Go inside the National Assembly and occupy the building. inside, National Assembly aides are trying to stop the soldiers, blocking them with furniture, sofas. They even resort to spraying them down with fire extinguishers. Citizens are trying to help block the paths of the tanks. And at the end, when the soldiers decide to leave, the group of protesters that were just screaming at them moments ago, that were just like, aren't you ashamed of yourself? Good work tonight. Get home safe. Good work.
No way.
Keep your heads up, our sons.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, the whole thing is so strange. Like, what are we doing here? What is happening? Is this staged? It is because December 3rd, 2024, President Yoon of South Korea delivers one of the most important presidential speeches in South Korean modern history. At 11:27 p.m., dear respected citizens, as president, I appeal to you with a heart full of sorrow. I appeal to you with the feeling of spitting out blood. The state administration is paralyzed and the sides of our citizens are deepening. Now, our National Assembly has become a den of criminals, paralyzing the nation's judicial and administrative systems through legislative dictatorship and planning for the overthrowing of our liberal democratic system. The National Assembly, which should be the foundation of liberal democracy, has become a den of criminals and is attempting to destroy the system. Now, South Korea is in a precarious situation where it would not be surprising if we collapse. In summary, the president of South Korea is accusing the opposition party. So President Yoon is very right-wing. Even out of the right wings, he's ultra-conservative. Super conservative. He gets voted in, and the opposition party, I guess the Democrats, if you will, they have control over the National Assembly, so they're not letting any of his bills pass. But now he is accusing them of being North Korean spies, North Korean intelligence, North Korean operatives that are preventing him, and they just want to destroy South Korea from the inside. He says, to protect the safety of the people, the following is hereby declared throughout the Republic of Korea as of 11 p.m. on December 3rd, 2024. Martial law is declared. All political activities, including the National Assembly, are prohibited. He's saying no lawmakers can come together. 2, all acts that deny or attempt to overthrow the system are prohibited. Fake news, public opinion manipulation, prohibited. 3, all media and publications are subject to the control of the martial law command, basically censorship. 4, strikes, work stoppages, rallies, prohibited. All medical personnel, doctors who are on strike or have left their medical job, must return to their jobs within 48 hours. Those who violate will be punished according to the martial law. He's saying anyone who doesn't follow this will be arrested, detained, searched without a warrant, interrogated, and God knows what. He says, as president, I sincerely appeal to you. I will dedicate my life to protecting the Free Republic of Korea. Please believe in my heartfelt loyalty to you, the people. Please trust in me. Thank you. And with that, all hell breaks loose. I mean, technically, anybody could get a death sentence, could disappear, all in the name and excuse of protecting the country. With one researcher stating, I mean, no matter who you voted for, it doesn't matter your political affiliation. Martial law in this day and age in South Korea is nonsense. I mean, you even have to wonder, was this President Yoon's entire plan all along get voted in so that he can take complete control? I mean, President Yoon is a pretty divisive president. He wins the election by just 0.8%. That's not even a full percentage. He isn't even particularly popular, but the people who love him will die for him. I mean, I guess here we are, right? He was known as a career prosecutor who is known to play by the books. I mean, you ever meet those people? You like play a game of Monopoly with them. I mean, you're just learning how to play. You make a mistake and they're like, no, the rules are the rules. It's like too serious. That was the initial public perception that people had until you find out that he failed the bar exam 9 times. And he's just not that bright, you know? But a lot of people who are already very right-leaning, ultra-conservative, they love the fact that he was not a career politician. This is his first political role other than being a prosecutor. Like, this is his first public office held. Even though, generally speaking upon, it's kind of frowned upon in Korea for former prosecutors to run for higher office because prosecutors are supposed to be politically neutral. And so if you run, you have to go with a party and then, you know, you're mixing in with a bunch of other people that could try to bribe you later. A lot of people were not happy about this election, but they kind of soothed themselves with the idea of, well, he's kind of a lame duck, isn't he? I mean, the Democrats, they've got the National Assembly majority, so like, what is he going to do? He's not going to be able to do anything. He's just going to sit there pretty, and that's it. But he does some very ominous things. One of the biggest things during his campaign trail, October 1st, 2021, presidential candidate Yoon goes viral. On his left hand, first of all, it's a very pricey looking watch, yes. But also, there is a word written on his palm. So he's talking, he's doing a debate, and it's almost like someone drew with a Sharpie one symbol. It's the Chinese symbol for king. Why the hell would you write king on your palm? You're not writing strength, courage, good luck, president, servant, for the people.
Is it?
It's hanja, so it's traditional Korean, yes. But a lot of like, I guess, Western sources call it the Chinese symbol for king.
Yeah.
But it's Korean hanja.
It's the same character.
Yeah. So they use the hanja, and it's king. Why the hell does someone write king on their palm while running for president? Learning about investing when I was freshly 18, 19 years old was one of the best financial decisions that I've ever made. Investing isn't just Wall Street and rich clients. Everyone can invest, and it is the best time to learn because April is Financial Literacy Month. That's right. So they've made this whole month reminding you to finally take control of your money. And good news is you don't need 30 days. Acorns makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future in just 5 minutes. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that matches you and your money goals. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. Sign up now and join the over 14 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $25 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/rotten or download the Acorns app to get started. Paid client endorsement compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 4 compensation provided. Investing involves risks. Acorn Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/rotten. A reporter that same year goes to meet with the future First Lady, Kim, at her office. There's this massive meeting table. It's very large. It's a conference table length, and she ushers this reporter in, seats him at the head seat, man of the house seat. And to his right, there's 2 men. To his left, there's 2 women. And this is probably the most fascinating conversation that he's ever been involved in. They are acting like he is God who is walking down back on earth. They're treating him like the king right now.
Wait, treating who?
This reporter.
Huh.
And it's making him feel good about himself. Meanwhile, all he has ever done is write shit pieces against the future First Lady and her husband, presidential candidate Yoon. Meanwhile, future First Lady Kim, she's just laying on a daybed in the office, right next to him. She's just laying there on her side, like a beautiful French lady, that type of energy.
Wait, hold on. Kim
Yes.
is the First Lady, right? But this is prior to
Yes.
them winning the election. And she invited a reporter that hates her. And then like she's laying next to him.
And this is the very first meeting, and her whole team is treating him like he's the world's best reporter that has ever existed. And he's so confused, but also it's kind of working. He feels good. I mean, you would think that these two have been best friends since high school and they're just seeing each other again. That's the level of casualness in which First Lady Kim is directing herself. This is their first meeting. And she's laying on her side, she's giggling, getting up, pouring him more alcohol. He says, after drinking, my face got a bit red and I put my hand on the table and she suddenly yanks it towards her body. So she's pulling his hand. Naturally, his body is going towards her. And she announces to the staff, hey guys, I'm going to read his palm, see if I'm right or not. She's studying the lines on his palm. This oppa is going to do really well in the future. He's a married man, but he has a woman on the side. Reporter Lee is like yanking his hand out because what do you mean? Where would I even have a woman on the side? I don't even have time to meet women. He says, behind me, I could hear the other 2 female employees chuckling, giggling, and then they start reading out his palm. And First Lady Kim states he's really good at night activities. And all the girls start giggling and tapping him on the shoulder. Night activities, as in intimate relations. Reportedly says he feels so uncomfortable, he just wants to leave. He finally comes up with an excuse. Kim follows him out, shoves an envelope in his pocket for the taxi ride home. When he opens it up in the taxi, it's 21 $50 bills. It's the 50,000 won bill. In Korea, it's the highest bill.
So how much is that?
I guess if you do the conversion to USD, it's like $721. That is way, what is he, taxing to America? Why does he need $724? Even if she was paying him for his time, he was only there for 30 minutes. He thought, well, maybe this is nothing to her. Maybe she's that rich. I'm just so confused. Also, 21 bills feels very specific.
Yeah.
October 29th, 2022, another case that we covered. At a Halloween celebration in Itaewon, Seoul, 159 people died in a crowd crush incident in a small alleyway. We did an episode on it, probably one of the worst tragedies in modern South Korean history. But the new conspiracies have popped up. Honestly, this is very controversial and incredibly traumatizing, but a lot of netizens feel like there might be some truth to it because of how crazy everybody's been acting. With the sentiment and conspiracy being, if President Yoon didn't wish for a tragedy like this to happen, maybe he's using it after the fact to gain energy and strength through dark shamanistic practices. October 28th, the day before the Itaewon crush incident, a man named Chun Kong, a shaman, goes online to make a video. Do our young people have anything to do now? No. What do they do when they have nothing to do? Youth is a time when energy is burning. When energy is burning and there's nothing to do, if you're not given anything to do, what happens? They go around doing all sorts of things. So they go dancing. And since young people gather there, they go there. If young people are drinking there, I drink too. If they do drugs, I do them too. An enormous amount of drugs are coming into Korea now. So I'm designing all that. And now what the government needs to do is crack down on all the incoming drug dealers before this gets bigger, before the organization gets bigger. And he goes on and on. But like any war, the war on drugs usually needs a catalyst for the government to crack down. This is one day before the Itaewon tragedy. The next day after the Itaewon incident, Chun Gong tells his followers that, quote, the young people who were sacrificed in the Itaewon tragedy gave our country an opportunity.
That is crazy to say.
Those good opportunities will keep coming. Even if our children sacrifice themselves, they need to sacrifice themselves with this kind of mass numbers for the world to feel it. This is being arranged now. We must make our children's sacrifices worthwhile. We need to use this opportunity well and do something that shines in the world. It is believed that this specific shaman believes that death and the time of death and people dying could be an energy ritual. It's not just that people are dead, because what could you possibly get out of that? He is saying that the energy, the mass grief that everybody feels, it's something that you can manipulate and turn into fortune for one party or another. And what does this random shaman have to do with President Yoon? It is alleged that this is the First Lady Kim and President Yoon's shaman of choice. Which again, insane, right? But people start noticing strange things, such as the fact that the president and the government forbid the victims' families from hanging portraits of the victims at the National Memorial. Their names were forbidden to show up anywhere at the official memorial. A lot of people hated the official memorial for how cold it felt. However, for multiple days straight, President Yoon, the president of South Korea, came every single day to leave chrysanthemums. To which some people were thinking, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Is he like feasting off this energy or something? He won't let the families have a proper memorial, but he comes every day for what?
Yeah, what's his reason for not allowing photos and hanging
He
photos?
said it was too quick to organize with every victim's family if they consented to photos, if they consented to names. But most of the families were like, no, we want that. And then, 9 days after the Itaewon incident, President Yoon moves into the presidential residence away from the Blue House. He does not move into the Blue House, which is like the White House of South Korea. He moves into the Defense Ministry building.
So he went from Blue House to there.
No, he goes from his personal apartment that is built on top of Sampung Mall collapse to this defense ministry building. He does not want to move to the Blue House.
Like unprompted.
This was one of the first things that he does as president. He said that he was going to spend $30 to $40 million of taxpayer money to live in the defense ministry compound. He claims that him not moving into the Blue House is him rejecting the traditional presidential residence because it's symbolic of imperial power. He said he wants to feel connected with the people. Nobody believes that. They think it's shamanism. And it's very interesting because people say, wait, I feel like the defense ministry building has way darker history. That area was Japan's military headquarters during the colonial period. Before that, a lot of kings would bury their concubines in that region. So there's history in that area. There's even rumors that there's a massive gravesite under the Ministry of National Defense office. Why would he want to move there over the plush, beautiful Blue House? The palace. A lot of people say President Yoon and First Lady Kim believe the entire Blue Palace has bad feng shui. Now, to be fair, feng shui can be, at times, perspective. Some people say the location of the Blue House is pretty good. There's mountains up north, there's a river in the south, all finished off with this stone monument that claims this is the most blessed place on earth. But I will say nobody really believes it because every single president that's been in there, I mean, the best fate that you can get after serving as president of South Korea is to be wealthy and normal. Not dead, not investigated for corruption, not impeached, and not in prison. Those are usually the more popular options. Geographically, there's a lot about the new presidential residence that the Blue House doesn't have, like typical good feng shui. So they move 7 days after the Itaewon tragedy with a $5,000 cat tower that they bought using taxpayer money. They bought this cat tower that cats climb on top of. It was $5,000. They buy this full new bathtub, high quality Hinoki cypress starting at $17,000. I mean, there's a lot of people who think, what is happening right now?
Like they're furnishing this new military home base.
Yes. But like, how do they even know that the new presidential residence is luckier than the Blue House? There's a strong connection between the First Lady Kim and the number 5. It's said that her phone number has a lot of 5s. Her car license plate has a lot of 5s. It is believed that in shamanism, the number 5 symbolizes balance and harmony. It's supposed to represent the 5 elements, the 5 directions, and the 5 colors. It's good to keep the natural and spiritual forces in order because of the protection it provides, and it's going to bring good fortune. 5 gods, 5 elements. It's believed that she also subscribes to the idea of the big flow of energy. Like, you know how there's wind patterns? Bad luck, negative energy cycles also flow in certain directions. Positive, good energy flows also flows in certain directions. They have expressions like a virtuous cycle or a vicious cycle. And to receive the highest level of luck, the First Lady and her alleged shaman allegedly map out Seoul. So they start with their original home being the southern point because this is where they became president. Then they draw a line. So this is Acro Vista apartment complex.
How do we know these? Or
a lot of shaman experts came out and said, these are the people that she's associating with, allegedly, and these are like the types of things that they do.
Okay.
So they start with Acro Vista, the original residence, their personal residence, private residence. Then they draw a line straight to what they call the central line of the earth, which lands at Itaewon Station. Directly north of that is the Blue Palace. And then that's one straight line, up, down, right? Mm-hmm. Then if they start at Itaewon, the middle point in the center, the central line, then they go directly left to the west, you run into the presidential office. Then you go from Itaewon Station directly right, it's the Defense Ministry building, the new presidential residence. They believe the flow of energy is going to come positively towards them. It brings out a cross. So prior to the presidency, years ago in South Korea, in Gangnam, there was this massive pink building, the mall's Hampung department store that collapsed and killed 500 people. If you've been to Korea, you've probably driven by that site. It's quite literally smack dab in the middle of Gangnam. Now, instead of a memorial, there's 3 massive buildings. Acro Vista Complex, high-end residential homes. 37 stories tall each. When you drive past it, they're just sitting neatly on the street. The building structures themselves look more like hotels than your typical Korean apartment building. It's very expensive. In between each building, you've got park-like green areas and trees. There's a separate facility called Acro Vista Arcade where you can just walk out of your apartment, go find banks, restaurants, markets, cafes, pharmacies, convenience stores. There's been debates, so many debates. Is this building haunted or not? Some people would say it's the safest building in the entire country. What are the odds that 2 buildings at the same place collapse? This building will probably be the last building in the world to collapse. Other people say this is the worst building to be in because you don't know. Let's say if you believe in spirituality and your soul, you're going to build a home on top of all of these souls whose lives were taken abruptly because of government corruption, because they didn't have the right regulations for this mall. But some shamans believe this is the best energy you can have. When souls are trapped in an area, they give off a lot of energy. And if they are to move to the afterlife, you can send things with them. You can send your misfortune. You can send your pain away with them. But some citizens think that's crazy. Maybe they just moved in there because it's a nice apartment complex. I will say a lot of people felt that way until some random things start overlapping. President Yoon announces his candidacy to run for president on June 29th, 2021, on the exact anniversary of this Hampung department store collapse.
That is wild.
And where he makes the announcement is called the Citizen Forest, where they were originally planning to have this Hampung department store collapse memorial.
That is crazy.
And then you've got the pink temple that they built in the mountains, allegedly.
Wait, so that temple, what's going on?
It's still there.
Wait, who's the lady you're saying?
That's Park Geun-hye's mom. First Lady Kim's mother is released from prison and she goes there. And then on the little lanterns, you've got President Yoon's name. You've got Kim Geun-hye, First Lady Kim's name.
So she was released from prison like recently.
Yes.
And she goes straight for that?
Yeah.
And then do some kind of
yes.
rituals and that space is still there. Nobody knows exactly what's going on. It's just a pink block.
Yeah.
In the mountains.
Yeah. Some people think there's just no way he doesn't know what day it is, considering he lives in the apartment building built on top of the collapse. But others see it as, well, maybe it's just an unfortunate coincidental overlap. How do we know? But other people say there have been so many strange things. The king written on his hand, even admittedly in one secretly recorded phone call with a reporter. First Lady Kim is heard saying, I can see better than most clairvoyants. There's a rumor that's somewhat incorrect. I don't go to shamans to have my fortune told. I can read shamans better than they can. I study the 4 pillars of destiny so that I know my own fate. The 4 pillars of destiny is a bit different from shamanism. It's kind of like reading your birth chart. It's analyzing a person's fate, life path based on their birth year, birth month, birth date, and birth hour. It's pretty common. It's like finding the cosmic energy at the time that you were born and the idea that you cannot escape your destiny. Nobody can, so you might as well lean into it. Which, okay, fine, but it does get weirder. It is alleged that Kim Geun-hye kept jugo straw dolls, which are kind of reminiscent of like Western voodoo dolls. And they would have their opponents' names on there, allegedly, and they would stick daggers into the straw dolls. Apparently, First Lady Kim would hold these rituals, ceremonies, where she would place a jugo straw doll representing someone that she hates, put them in a giant bucket of ice, and when the ice melts, the doll is slowly getting submerged until they slowly drown in this now melted ice bucket of water and then sink to the very bottom.
And where did that... Just an allegation, just a rumor?
Yes, sources of people who knew her prior to her running, or her husband running for president. It is believed that she partakes in rituals where you hold funerals for living people as a way of cursing them. And who knows? I guess if any of this is true, they could argue that it worked because now they are president and they're moving into this new residence, not the Blue House, that appears to be walking distance, 7-minute walking distance, 0.4 miles away from a man named Chun Gong. During President Yoon's run for presidency, he's asked about whether or not he knows of Chun Gong personally, the shaman. By the way, the shaman has some crazy hair. He's got waist-length hair that's all white. He looks like a shifu from a Chinese drama. Yeah. And then you just like imagine him texting on a bus, and then it's just the vision is not there anymore. But to which he says, the president says, I met with him a few times with my wife. But Chun Gong has a completely different statement. He states, the First Lady has been listening to my lectures for 4 to 5 years now. She's listened on YouTube, like she studies my lectures. She liked it so much that she just kept listening and learning from it. He's a very interesting character.
There is such a history of Korean presidents.
That's why
seeking shamanism or these, yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So I think shamanism is pretty widely accepted in South Korea. I think if you go to a shaman, nobody really bats an eye. If you're doing some weird animal sacrifices rituals, yeah, people want you arrested. However, if you're like, hey, shaman, come into this new apartment and like tinker tatter around and make it that I can make more money in here. People will do it. People like it. Or shaman, can you help my kid get into college? It's whatever. I think it's like therapy. You're easing your soul. You feel like you've put it up into the air now. But with this, people hate it. Korean citizens who might consult a shaman or two if they want, they absolutely hate the idea of politicians being associated with shamans. And the previous one that was very allegedly close to a shaman that might have been controlling a lot of the nation's decisions through the president is Park Geun-hye, the president of this Haewol Ferry disaster. She was impeached.
Yeah.
She was thrown in prison for corruption.
Yeah, and it's heavily tied to
yes,
shamanism, right?
Yeah. Now, I will say Chun Gong does have a hard life. He was an orphan for 33 years, and then he went to the mountains in Ulsan. I don't know how true any of this is, but he states for the next 17 years, he was just absorbing energy and cosmic law from the mountains. In his YouTube video, he states, fundamentally, as we come from space to this earth, we are living with 30% of our original energy. You know, what we call our soul, this soul is me. The soul is us, not the physical body. The soul resides within the physical body. This soul contains how much of your original energy? It is 30%. This is like meeting a word count. Then where is the remaining 70%? It resides in nature itself, in space, in our original homeland. I think we're all aliens. I don't know. That's our true homeland, he says. This place is not our true home. We have come to a distorted place. I hate that word. Why? Due to impurity. Why do humans live and work hard? I mean, I don't know either, sir. I thought you were supposed to tell us. In another oddly pessimistic video, he says, death doesn't exist at all. There is no death. Even if there is a word to describe it, death doesn't exist at all. Grand nature operates everything as energy. Do you die when you let go of your body after you've finished using it? No, you don't. Your flesh will return to grand nature as energy through microbial activity. The soul exists forever and all the energy in the universe is eternal. We transform as necessary to work in different environments.
He sounds like a co-leader.
Yes. Also in another one, he says, obesity stems from having complaints. Unsatisfied people become obese. When you meet high quality people, you will naturally eat high quality food. Thus, you should put some effort into developing yourself in the right way. If your health issues are not resolved in the hospital, that implies that you have character flaws. Your energy is circulating. If your energy is circulating well, your appearance improves. Higher quality people then become attracted to you. And as more people come to you, you receive their high quality energy and then develop even more high quality energy. And likewise, when people stay away from you, you feel lonely. Your appearance declines. You lack energy. You get obese. Then people around you leave, so you shrink. You know, just like the old ladies with their rounded shoulders who are so small. Even their acquaintances start getting shorter and rounder shoulders. And then you got everyone becoming like this.
Okay.
But he also says, you can't make good friends by wanting to befriend someone. If you do, you will lose the upper hand in the relationship. It's the law of accidents. If you don't reflect on yourself and learn a lesson from the small accident and continue to just live like before, then you'll have a bigger one. Why? Pain never comes if you live correctly. It only comes when you live wrongly. Accidents and illnesses operate alike. Hospitals and prisons restrain people. You are confined. You are confined and forced to reflect on yourself. It is there to guide you to think deeply without moving around. I think
Is he like famous? Or like somewhat famous? Or?
Somewhat famous, but not much.
So why are people connecting it to the president?
Because they've been seen around together, it appears. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're very well connected, and he said some pretty inflammatory things. The Itaewon tragedy being the sacrifice for the greater good of the country being one. Additionally, he believes that North and South Korea will unite. He believes in unification of the two countries. He says, I have proclaimed that the Korean peninsula will be reunited in the fall of 2025. He's saying South and North Korea are going to be one country. He says, Korea is the root of mankind, but the Korean peninsula is divided and the root is not playing its role. The conditions for reunification are now the best that they have ever been. The people of North Korea, our brothers and sisters, are in a very difficult situation. We have to take care of them so they do not have to suffer. We must leave something for humanity when Korea is reunified. The time has come for us to unify and do good work for the sake of human peace. He also says things like, you feed a hungry person, right? You go on the street, you feed a hungry person, and you think to yourself, I've done a good deed. But the society we are living in now no longer suffers from inadequate food supply. Those who lack food are lazy. They think they are smarter than they really are. They pick and choose their work. They are ungrateful for the work they are given. What happens if you give that kind of person food? You have done a very bad deed, and you will be punished. You should be punished for that. God put this person in that difficult situation because they're complaining about the work that is given to them and they're trying to avoid it. And now you have praised someone who deserves to be punished. So you will be punished.
That's wild.
If he's this all-powerful knowing shaman that President Yoon and First Lady Kim believe in, how are they the most hated couple in the office in the first 100 days? At a presidential debate, a lot of sensitive topics tend to come up. But during this presidential debate, with President Yoon being involved, he gets grilled about something very specific. Acupuncture. Have you done it or not? Apparently, an acupuncturist has been closely tied with President Yoon. During the campaign trail, sometimes he'd just be lurking very close to President Yoon. Clearly, this guy has security, so you can't just lurk around. It's clear that he's part of the inner circle in some capacity. So if you're wondering about what acupuncture is, wonder no more. You stick needles inside the butt, for 30 minutes at a time while you lay there and you just feel the electric current radiating to that region. You might have some uncontrollable twitching there, but that's what you signed up for. The specific acupuncturist filed a patent in 2013 for anal acupuncture, stating that it treats neurological paralysis and prevents and treats strokes as well as dementia. Yeah. It's also believed that anal acupuncture is somehow tied to dark shamanism, which both President Yoon and First Lady Kim deny. But all citizens say, we saw what you did to that cow in a small region up north at this temple. In a small region up north, President Yoon's name is there hanging off a banner, and his title is there, so is First Lady Kim's names, and they are skinning a cow. They're skinning the cow alive. And they're hanging the skin for display along with a stack of 10 dead pigs on stage for the ceremony. Now, side note, this part is very graphic, but the cow is skinned alive. The cow is still alive. The skin is hanging up on display, and the cow's eyes are wide open. The cow is foaming at the mouth. There's rods stuck into its back. The cow, again, is very much alive. It is believed that the cow sacrifice, it was for the cow to take all of these sins and misfortunes from people's lives into the afterlife. The man that facilitated the sacrifice, he was also seen around Yoon during the campaign trail. So Yoon starts getting grilled on social media with people demanding, you insist that you have no ties with shamans, but this doesn't make any sense.
And this is all happened during the election,
Yes.
there's some sacrifice of the cow during his whole campaign.
And this is very ironic considering First Lady Kim has made one of her biggest causes to ban the consumption of dog meat. She and President Yoon have no kids, just 12 pets, at least 6 dogs, 6 cats. And she's been seen a lot carrying around this vegan purse that every time she's seen carrying it, it keeps selling out. And it's great, but everybody's confused. You raise a dog, you make laws for dogs, but then you turn around and skin a live cow? The opposition leader states, in the 21st modern century in a country where nuclear missiles exist, there should never be such a case where a shaman interferes in or affects state affairs. State affairs are supposed to be for the benefit of the country, not shamanistic rituals of like, what about the energy? They have bombs. The energy of an atomic bomb is uncontrollable. Some citizens say, beyond that, sure, she likes dogs, but really, you think she actually likes dogs? Considering how much pain did she show for the victims of Itaewon? The first 100 days, President Yoon becomes one of the most disliked presidents to take office. His approval rating in the first 100 days was down to 24%. His previous predecessor, a Democratic leader, his approval rating after the first 100 days was 78%.
Wow.
I mean, even Park Geun-hye's approval ratings were in like the 50s. In the first 100 days. So this is pretty bad. And there's just a few scandals right out the gate that people have a hard time digesting. A lot of netizens don't like President Yoon's work-life balance. They say, there's too much balance. I mean, look at the state of the nation. Get your ass back in the office. Now, to provide some context, the government at the time wanted to raise the maximum weekly working hours in Korea from 52 hours to 69 hours. And they're like, well, you politicians better be working 90 hours then. Of course, there were opposition parties that object to everything that Yoon and Kim do. Like there was this whole fuss about First Lady Kim holding President Biden's arm for a picture, which yeah, would I do that? Probably not. Is that the most media trained thing to do? Probably not. But there's clearly more important things to worry about when it comes to our heads of state. It's further alleged that they would make military nurses and security guards act like hosts at their parties and gatherings, like to guard the door, to open the door, to serve food, I guess, which is crazy. And then September 2022, Queen Elizabeth II passes away. President Yoon, along with practically every single other foreign diplomat and world leader, shows up to London to pay his respects to the Queen, but he doesn't show up the day all the other leaders show up. He states it was due to traffic, to which opposition parties argue, many people are wondering why he failed to offer condolences while the leaders of the United States, Canada, Japan, China, Brazil, and Ukraine, everybody in different levels of the world, in different countries, with countries that have more pressing issues like Ukraine going on, they showed up that day and you didn't. You're making us look like a diplomatic failure. Others speculate, maybe he was intentionally late. A lot of shamans say that his spirit does not mix well with Western ghosts. I mean, I feel like some of these sound like fake sitcom news bites, but in another situation at the UN General Assembly, President Yoon is seen speaking with then President Biden, and as he's leaving, he's got a hot mic on, which means the mic is still recording by Korean press. And he is talking about Biden trying to get the United States to contribute more to the global fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Biden has to get it through Congress. President Yoon says to his peers on the hot mic, how could Biden not lose face if the don't pass it in Congress?
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. It was...
What?
Yeah, it also doesn't help that they're just...
Like he's saying, like, how is Biden not embarrassed?
Yeah, he should be embarrassed. And then those fuckers in Congress... It's crazy.
Yeah. But at the same time, though, himself in South Korea, like,
yeah, he's getting out by those fuckers in the National Assembly. I guess he would say it like that.
That's so weird. Wow.
Yeah, and to which opponents naturally start freaking out, understandably, because this is considered a slanderous diplomatic accident that seriously tarnishes national dignity, which it does, and South Korea undeniably has some dependence with the United States.
Oh, yeah.
They have very close ties, and it also doesn't help that Yoon is ultra-conservative, and then Biden is part of the Democratic Party. So it's probably worse than that, though, if you can imagine. A month before his inauguration, this is when he's already president-elect. There's really no going back. He goes to visit former president, impeached President Park Geun-hye, notoriously known for her corruption, the way she handled the Sewol Ferry disaster. He's the one that prosecuted her. He's the one that went after her. He made his whole campaign trail of like, I care about justice. Look at all the people that I brought down. Deep state, whatever. He goes to her and he apologizes.
He apologizes?
He apologizes. And that signals two things. First of all, this guy's a phony. And second of all, she must have a lot of power still. Oh yeah, she must still have a lot of power.
I see.
Because her dad was also a former president. So her family lines run deep. Like the water is very deep in that family.
Right. So at this point, he's like, I'm a president. I'm going to make my job easier.
Yes.
Let me just... Wow.
But if the public ever asks for an apology about something, he has a very blasé way of handling things. He would almost taunt the public. That's what it feels like. For example, President Yoon was expected to apologize for some tasteless comments he made about the opposition party leaders. He just posts a picture of his dog, and he's holding out an apple for his dog. In Korean, the word for apology is sagwa. The word for apple is sagwa. He's like, here's your apology. That's what it seems like.
To the dog.
Yeah, to the dog, to the people. Like, you want an apology? Here's your apology. You want a saga? Here's your apple.
That is crazy.
It feels like he's mocking the demands of the public.
He is crazy.
He doesn't write it, but that's pretty much what it means. It's like the subtext to it.
It's like you're just...
Insane.
Yeah, like sending a meme on Twitter.
Yes. 2022, floods become very extreme. People in Seoul, I'm sure you guys have seen those memes. Yeah, they made memes out of it. Where it's like that guy sitting on the roof of his car and he looks somewhat chill.
Oh, yeah.
And then people are like, me when the world is falling apart. Yeah, became like a thing. But people died in the floods. It was bad. And there's these sub-basement units in South Korea that are really difficult. If you've seen the movie Parasite, that's basically what it's on. Families are drowning. So if you're walking on the street, there is a window at where your feet are, and it goes down a level, and that's the only sunlight some of these units get. And now if there's floods, it's just flooding in. Some of these people are drowning and passing away in their own homes. President Yoon comes back, and he's got a whole story to tell, because I guess presidential speech. President Yoon just casually mentions, while I was leaving work yesterday, I noticed that other apartments were already becoming flooded. So what does he do about it? He goes on vacation. He says he spent the entirety just reflecting on how he's going to serve the will of the people while keeping his passion fired up. Then when he finally comes back to help with the flood victims, he's just taking pictures, squatting down, and looking into the window of the sub-basement homes from the street level. He doesn't even go inside. Yeah. To which people are questioning, how do you see that and still proceed to drive home? How do you just take these pictures? Does this guy have ice in his veins? What is happening? The worst PR response possible is given by the senior secretary of the president. Is the president supposed to stay at the office just because it's raining?
What?
It does indeed somehow get worse. In 2022, one of the worst typhoons in years hits the southern region of South Korea in what I can only describe as the most questionable PR press tour. President Yoon and his staff, all wearing matching uniforms, go to check on the civilians that have been affected, to hear their grievances, take some videos, rub off some presidential aura on them, and be on his merry way. That's what it seems like he's doing. A lot of it is recorded. President Yoon walks into this small, tiny hole-in-the-wall restaurant that focuses on barley rice. That's their specialty. You got to know that barley rice is so delicious there, probably. But it's this tiny little restaurant. It probably sits 4 people. They've got a whole lunch set menu for $6 with barley rice, soup, side dishes. And there's these 2 elderly women standing inside this tiny little square of a box. Everybody sits on the floor on all the small tables to eat. It's kind of cute. Probably incredible food. You have the president walking in with the whole entourage of like 40 people behind them, and they're just recording him. Fine, he's the president. He's not coming alone, but walks in. Cameras are recording. And the 2 older women, they seem like nice little grandmas with curly permed hair. And they just have this very homey southern accent. Mr. President, please save us. Please save us. We have nothing left. There's no water. There's no electricity. We've got nothing. He shakes their hand, walks in between them, and then walks past them in this tiny little cramped space and goes to the printed picture of the lunch set menu on the wall. He doesn't even address what they just said. Oh. He just goes to the barley rice picture and is staring at it.
Okay.
he looks hungry. The comments read zero empathy. Instead of even making eye contact with the woman, he's looking at the menu first. This is insane. Another writes, the thing he looked at the longest inside that restaurant was the menu board. The two women are crying and he goes to look at the menu. Should he get a cognitive test?
Wait, what's happening?
He's just analyzing the menu.
Oh, like he just like, okay, let me just get my lunch. Like, yeah, cool, sounds good.
Yeah, let me see if I want to eat here. Is the vibe that people get.
Huh.
He said, people are commenting, he looks the most serious looking at that menu. He looks so serious, I thought he was going to place an order. His supporters will argue that he's just a tough communicator, slightly arrogant, but he's still going to do some good. He's a prosecutor general that went after all of the presidents for corruption. He's not going to be corrupt. It is alleged that they were working tirelessly to pass a massive government construction project. They were trying to do these like transportation projects that would cost astronomical amounts, like wildly expensive government contracts. He wanted to change like 50% of the transportation maps to benefit the areas where him and his family members, specifically Kim Gun-hee, his wife, and her parents, have a lot of land.
So he's trying to jack up his own like family's real estate worth.
The project was scrapped once it became a full-blown scandal.
Wow.
Another dangerous aspect for citizens is President Yoon has a notoriously uncomfortable relationship with North Korea. He just keeps pissing off Rocket Man. North Korean Supreme Leader states, "We do not want war, but we also have no intention of avoiding it," which is exactly the statement that absolutely nobody in South Korea wants to hear. He continues, explicitly speaking, we will never unilaterally unleash a war if the enemies don't provoke us. Meanwhile, President Yoon states, should North Korea provoke us, we will punish them multiple times as hard. In order to attain peace, we must make overwhelmingly superior war preparations. Kim Jong-un counters back, making it clear, our army should deal a deadly blow to thoroughly annihilate them if we are provoked. At one point, North Korea's official message through Kim Jong-un's sister, Rocket Woman, is we don't like Yoon Suk-yeol himself. Dogs will always bark as a puppy or an adult. Same goes for the one with the title of president.
Oh, it's tense.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And you have to remember the previous president, Democratic leader Moon, he went and visited Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
They had a meeting.
Yeah.
So things just start spiraling downhill. Every entrepreneur dreams of success, but here's the insider secret. Selling isn't just about what you sell, it's about how you sell it. When my family and I sold Grandpa Mingo's limited edition art pieces, we were at a complete loss, trying to figure out an online point of sale. How do we ensure that the checkout is safe? How do we ensure that the customer's credit information is protected? Thankfully, we had the ultimate behind-the-scenes partner with the #1 checkout experience on the planet. Shopify removes every possible friction point between interest and purchase, plus their not-so-secret Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%. This means fewer abandoned shopping carts, more successful checkouts. Shopify simplifies your commerce and amplifies success. The bottom line, businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Selena Gomez's Rare Beauty uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/rotten, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/rotten to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/rotten. In 2022, when President Yoon is elected into office, North Korea decides that they want to redefine what the word posturing means. They start launching non-stop missiles stating, "These tests are a clear warning to our enemies." To which President Yoon's office responds stating that the missiles launched by North Korea aren't even that fast, so we could probably intercept them. But the whole thing has civilians on edge because, but one missile straight into Seoul is all it takes, buddy, so let's calm down. And what is the First Lady doing during all of this? Plagiarizing photos. Plagiarizing famous people's photos. There is a picture of her visiting Cambodia and holding an emaciated child in her arms. people started noticing a similarity to a very famous photo that has gone down in history of Audrey Hepburn, well-known actress turned renowned philanthropist, holding an emaciated child in her arms. Not only that, the two of them are wearing similar, simple, dark-colored, short-sleeve collared shirts. Their hair is tied back. Someone comments, also, why the hell is this woman staring off into the blue whilst volunteering? So Audrey Hepburn looks like she's walking somewhere holding that child and someone took a photo. Kim Gun-hee looks like she's just staring off into the sky, like having a profound moment. Is she okay in the head? People are wondering. There's a famous picture of Jackie Kennedy wearing an iconic outfit, all white skirt set. JFK is sitting in his office chair going over papers. She's standing next to him like a dutiful wife watching over him with like a slight smile on her face. Her arms are behind her back. It's like the symbol of traditional family unit. President Yoon and First Lady Kim recreate that picture but on the presidential jet. She's just copying Audrey Hepburn. She's copying and dressing like Jackie Kennedy, wearing the same clothes, doing the same pictures, literally posing for the pictures. And it just seems like everything is about pictures for her. When she goes to look at a new bridge that was built, she dresses in like a Barbie architect outfit.
Wasn't you remember there was the whole trend of people like talking about how cool she looks, remember?
Yes.
Like that was like a whole thing. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, look at South Korea's First Lady, like dressed to the..."
Yes.
This.
I mean, to be fair, like objectively, I think that her fashion choices are good.
Yeah, but now you see like the behind the scenes.
Oh.
It's like, oh my goodness, so cringy.
It's so cringy. It feels like she wants to be a celebrity more than anything. She's got fan clubs with people showing up with t-shirts that say I love Kim Gun-hee, and there are allegations that she started, made, and grew her own fan club. One psychologist thinks the personality of First Lady Kim, I think the biggest characteristic is her desire for recognition. She wants positions where she can be noticed, recognized, loved, and given attention, and she will keep trying to get to higher and higher positions. People have also pointed out her plastic surgery, with a former personal acquaintance turned lifelong hater of Kim Gun-hee saying, "You can't even call it plastic surgery. It's a complete transplant of a face." There is something very uncanny valley about her face. It is believed that she's had at least one facelift amongst other procedures. People have been comparing her earlobes, even her hairline. So those are usually indicators of a facelift. So like, to put it simply, imagine a facelift. You have a mattress. You sleep on that mattress every single day. The fitted sheet gets a little wrinkly. So then you lift up the top part of the mattress, you pull the fitted sheet back, and then you stuff it under. So usually that place is going to be near your ears or your hairline, where they cut some of that excess skin off after they pull it tight, and then they re-sew it. Her hairline, it's like someone just made an eyeshadow line across her hairline. And then her ears, she did have a knife cut ear, which is a very slim earlobe, but then now it's a very bulbous earlobe. So people have been comparing that. But I will say, yeah, it's plastic surgery. What's wrong with that? Netizens have made jokes of it. One of the bigger memes since they took office is this 11-picture collage of Kim Gun-hee's transformation over the years. The pictures are all numbered 1 through 11, and the meme is, pick which one she should have stopped at, with usually people picking number 4 or number 5.
Like her progression of face?
They're saying like, how much plastic surgery would you have stopped at to look the best? And they're like, she should have stopped at number 4, but instead she's at number 11. So that's become a meme. There are also other memes of like, I can't wait until a whole movie comes out about her and they use 11 different actresses because she looks so different.
Which there was a movie.
A documentary called The First Lady, yes. There are other scandals involving the First Lady Kim during the presidential race, but also the first 100 days in office. Her resume is incredibly packed and most of it is fake.
Confirmed fake?
Yes. At a press conference, she even confirms it and she apologizes. She says, I inflated my career to look better and made some mistakes. I shouldn't have done that. Looking back, it was a very shameful thing and I sincerely apologize. I will take the time to quietly reflect and contemplate.
일과 학업을 함께하는 과정에서 제 잘못이 있었습니다.
Do you know what she faked?
Yeah, she faked being an executive at a gaming company, but her timeline didn't make sense because she was working there before the LLC was even formed, before the company was even spawned into existence. She had been an executive there. Yeah. a lot of just random things, like she's the director of non-existent companies. Furthermore, her master thesis in college, it's completely copied, and she claims that she's pretty good at English, right? However, her thesis, the title reads, Member Yuji.
What's that?
In Korean, she's trying to write the retention of members, like retaining, keeping, maintaining members. Yuji is the transliteration. Okay, for example, it's like if you were to tell me to translate happy person. In Korean, happy person is like 행복한 사람, right? And I'm trying to write it in English. It should be happy person, but instead I write happy 사람. I just write S-A-R-A-M. I'm supposed to write happy people, but I write happy S-A-R-A-M. So for anyone who doesn't speak Korean, they're going to be like, what is saram?
Yeah. I see. Okay, so she's a complete fraud.
Basically. I mean, allegedly. I'm scared. Yeah, and it's also said that President Yoon and the First Lady Kim were headed to the U.S. and they do some, there's a lot of drama here that I get very stressed about. Okay, so Jill Biden suggested a Lady Gaga in Blackpink performance multiple times. And this flies under the radar for quite a bit. Clearly, Blackpink members have insane schedules. Maybe they just can't make it. There are speculations about it. There's rumors about it. But they're shut down by the president's office, saying the speculated performances being reported by the media is not part of the agenda for the upcoming state visit. But out of seemingly nowhere, the chief of South Korea's National Security Office resigns. He states that it is because he withheld at least 6 requests from Jill Biden to invite Blackpink to perform at the state dinner. He said he never told YG, he never told Blackpink. He said he just ignored it. He says, I have a heavy responsibility for handling the problem of Blackpink's performance, which was expected as the highlight of this state visit. But the allegation is, no, it's not the chief of national security. He's the fall guy. Why would he care who performs at the state visit? People were like, oh my God, even these old ajushis have a bias? No, people were like, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even impact national security. It is believed that the true reason is First Lady Kim does not like being around younger, more talented, famous women. She did end up crossing paths with Blackpink at the British royal family's gathering and even with Rosé at the Apex summit. I will say that this scandal is a bit more contentious in the fact that it's kind of a he said, she said. Democratic Party leaders in South Korea claim that Blackpink was barred from performing in a sense due to First Lady Kim. First Lady Kim's office states that it was a mutual decision by the Blue House and the White House to not hold the concert. They state that the initial agreement would have been that the US covers the cost for getting Lady Gaga. Korea will cover the cost of Blackpink. Blackpink agreed to not get paid for their performance. They said, we'll do it for free because, you know, we're patriots, whatever, right? For world peace. But we might need help covering the flights for all the staff because it's not just the 4 of them, right? They got sound people, managers, security. And also, I feel like Blackpink members might have paid out of pocket if they were asked, but it wasn't really up to them. It was up to YG. So then First Lady Kim said, we were actually ready, but it was Jill Biden who called the thing off because the cost to cover Lady Gaga's team was just too much taxpayer money on the United States part. That's what she says. We have no idea.
What is going on
America
right now?
is just too much in a craziness to even address anything like that right now. So with now, netizens are split into 3 groups. Some defending First Lady Kim. Media who hate her will write lies and wait until she responds with proof. This is ridiculous. However, I will state I did not see any proof, but others are against her, stating the fact that officials even responded to this. Like, why does it seem like every other week some Korean government official is involving themselves in K-pop? Don't they have national birth rate crises to deal with? Like, what the hell is going on over there? Or others just responding, protect Lady Gaga and Blackpink from politicians. We're glad taxpayer money was not used on their performances. I will say I do see her not being a girl's girl. Kim Gun-hee is someone who takes your breath away, not by her looks, but she's got some diabolical opinions. In one recorded phone call with a reporter, Kim talks about another politician who was convicted of R-wording his secretary multiple times. He's part of the Democratic Party, this politician. Kim Gun-hee and her husband, ultra-conservative. She says, I feel really sorry for An. My husband and I are strongly on his side. She also states the reason that liberal male politicians have more R-word cases is because they're not smart enough or rich enough to just pay off the woman. She says conservatives make sure to pay. That's why we don't see hashtag #MeToo happening as strongly in the Conservative Party. Me Too cases happen when you don't pay your dues. They want to play around, but they don't have the money to.
Wait, this is recorded audio of her.
Yeah.
How is that?
Yeah.
Like not the biggest.
Yeah. Also, First Lady Kim's mom was indicted and sentenced to like a year in prison while they were in office for corruption. And up until all of this, during the presidential campaign, during his presidency, it seems like Kim Gun-hee is almost the worst counterpart. A lot of the attacks are more about Kim Gun-hee and her very questionable family, her insane ethics. Meanwhile, Yoon Suk-yeol is like a little, does whatever his wife says.
Yeah. The whole sentiment is she's the one that's in charge.
Yes. People call her the president's Achilles heel. They call her all sorts of things and they wonder, is she the one running everything? So for example, there is this structure that was built in 14th century. It's a shrine. It's where the dynasty kings would grieve their ancestors. This is like a historical place in South Korea. It's typically off limits to even the public. It's not even a museum. You just can't go. You need very strict approval. You probably have to be a historian. You probably have to be a researcher, maybe an artist once in a while. First Lady Kim goes in there, hosts a party, brings in antique chairs and tables for a tea party for personal use. Side note, apparently Christopher Rothko, son of Mark Rothko, the late artist, was in attendance. It got to the point where the National Cultural Heritage Agency issued a public apology. We apologize for the controversy caused by the regulations regarding venue approval for this event. And people were so mad at her. She's treating this like a freaking cafe.
Yeah, like a very newly opened, exclusive
cafe.
Yeah.
One netizen writes, even Chosun kings would show respect while visiting this shrine. It is not a place for individuals to bring palace furniture and casually banter over cupcakes. To which many people who know the couple say, I don't think Yoon was ever the president. That fool is just a puppet who does what he's told. The real president is Kim Gun-hee. She's the one making the moves. Articles start getting released with titles along the lines of, is the president afraid of his wife? There's pictures and videos of President Yoon and First Lady Kim in public, mainly diplomatic settings where you can see First Lady Kim gesturing at him like, get up, like, come on, what are you doing? Like, put the alcohol down. And for pillars of the ultra-conservative movement, I mean, a lot of his supporters are guys, young guys, who feel like equal rights is ruining the world, who feel like all women are just in charge and running things and are victimizing all men. Like, that's his demographic, or really old people. Yeah, he's captured like the young, angry male audience. And so for ultra-conservative, ultra-traditional, they aren't really that conservative. She's like holding him by the neck. They married late. They have no children. She seems to be walking him like a dog. It's just very interesting. And when she's not around, he just seems so lost. There was one meeting where President Yoon has to go visit the British Prime Minister's residence. He gets dropped off. He has to walk to the door and knock. And there's a whole swarm of press waiting to take pictures and videos because it's like, oh my God, they're just having like a casual dinner. Two massive heads of state. He just walks right past the front door of the house. He looks very confused. The press are yelling at him in English, this way, sir. Where is he going? Hello, this way, sir. He just looks so lost and confused. Others say, yeah, he might be controlled by his wife, but they're both controlled by money and power. One historian states, the most incompetent president, a puppet manipulated by the privileged and the powerful. Even Kim Gun-hee says herself in a recorded phone call, people always say about me and my husband, you two are complete opposites. First Lady Kim, you're a man, and President Yoon is completely a woman. They always say that. And after getting married, I think it's true. I'm the man, and my husband is completely the woman.
This is fucking crazy.
In another one, she says, my husband is pretty dumb. He's a total clumsy person. He couldn't get anything done without me to look after him. As dumb as he might be, I keep him around because he listens to me.
Who's recording these and who is she talking to?
She's talking to opposition reporters that she believes she has persuaded into becoming obsessed with her.
Wow.
He's got a belly. He snores at night, eats like a pig, and is always passing gas. Do you think you could put up with that? Side note, Kim Geun-hee was not even her real birth name. She changed her name from Kim Myung-shin to Kim Geun-hee. The Hanja, so like the Korean traditional symbol for her name, reads hope and to build. But that to build is strongly associated with a country. So you can assume her new name means to hope, to build a country. Kim Geun-hee. Geun-hee. And we're just supposed to believe that she's a supportive wife? And it does seem like she's running stuff. Recently, there have been more scandals, more secretly recorded videos of Kim Geun-hee meeting with a very famous American Korean pastor by the name of Choi. He's very controversial as well. A lot of people say that he works for North Korea. He's very positive about the North Korean regime. He's made multiple videos, he's made multiple articles, but he goes in, meets with Kim Geun-hee, and starts giving her bribery gifts while secretly recording her, including a $2,000 Dior bag, to which she accepts it, and that becomes a massive scandal of bribery and corruption. And it just seems like that's nothing, because people are like, a $2,000 Dior bag? That's insane. A lot of other politicians will take millions of dollars. Are they just like, do they not know how to play the game? It doesn't appear that way. It appears that maybe they just take everything. For example, in a lot of pictures, First Lady Kim would show up to events, diplomatic events with very expensive, very highly identifiable high-end jewelry. $18,000 Tiffany yellow, gold, and platinum brooch with diamonds and pink sapphires. A Van Cleef snowflake pendant, platinum with diamonds for $50,000. Cartier bracelets for $12,000, $15,000. And people are like, these seem like gifts. In a recorded phone call, she says, the necklace that people are freaking out about, the $50,000 necklace, it's not even worth mentioning. I usually don't even wear accessories in my profession. I really can't, even if I want to. If you look at my photos, I'm always wearing suits. I haven't purchased any accessories at all in a really long time. The pastor asks her, then what's the issue? It keeps coming up in media. I don't even know where it's coming from. Those pieces, the jewelry, I borrowed them. My friend's mom told me, you need accessories as the first lady. So I thought I should at least have some minimal accessories for overseas state visits. So I asked around and I borrowed them. They're making a giant fuss about it, but I don't even know how much these things cost. I just borrowed them from my friend's mother. I mean, I was so shocked. I didn't even know what brands they came from.
Yeah, right.
Besides, I don't even have a special activity fund. Every outfit I wear, I purchase on my own card, which is highly doubtable because she purchased a $5,000 cat tower on taxpayer money.
What kind of cat tower costs $5,000?
A lot of people think that she got scammed because you can find similar ones for $200.
Oh, like it's a name brand? It
looks name brand, but it also looks not. It looks like I could find it on Taobao for like $50.
How could it be 5,000? It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. And in other phone calls, she constantly says things like, when we take power, when we became president. It sounds like she believes she is the president.
So about the martial law, right? Mm-hmm. What was the whole leading up events? Because that was the biggest news at that time. But what happened?
It appears, okay, so the Dior bag was one of the catalysts. It was another scandal. So nonstop, there have been motions and attempts by the National Assembly to impeach the president. And so I think it was like, maybe they felt this was the last straw that it could be handled. So they enacted martial law.
Right. So they feel like they're about to lose it all. The whole nation hates them.
Yeah.
The final thing that they could do is declare that.
Yes.
And assuming if the wife is likely in charge of things, it could also be her idea. Like, hey, just do this.
It could be the shaman's idea. And I think that's why people are really upset, because we should be able to at least elect the person we think we're electing, right? What does that even mean? So for the first time in 45 years, martial law is declared in South Korea. The last time martial law was declared, it lasted over a year, 456 days. But there was a whole team that was dedicated to censoring the media, the public, also the words punishment, anti-state forces. I mean, these are very vague. Who do you determine to be in that group? So lawmakers in the National Assembly, the only way to end martial law is to have all the National Assembly members, or at least a good chunk of them, majority of them, vote against it. And that is why the soldiers show up to the National Assembly and try to block them. But I will say, a lot of these soldiers did not want to be there. They did not believe in martial law. But the way that Korea works, I know a lot of people in America might be like, well, then don't show up. Then don't do your job. But in Korea, if you don't do these things, your life is over.
Yeah, I mean, for a soldier, you have to follow the rules.
So they
right?
show up. And most of them don't even look like they're trying because it takes them, an hour or two to break a first-story window to raid the National Assembly. Yeah, I mean, some of them are just kind of pointing rifles at people but not really doing anything. They're just getting fire extinguished and being like, stop. One of them even came out and was like, our whole unit was trying to stall and we were eating like ramyeon in the convenience store to see if like maybe it wouldn't happen. Yeah.
That is crazy.
A lot of people said you can tell it was kind of like a show on everybody's parts. Like it was almost like the protesters there, a lot of them understood that it has to appear like the soldiers held out. The soldiers have to appear like they're holding out.
That is pretty interesting to see that nobody was like hurt, right?
Yes, that's what a lot of people are saying. Nobody was hurt. And then a lot of these National Assembly members, they're like 80-year-olds. And you're telling me they got past 20, 30-year-old dudes with rifles and tanks and helicopters. Yeah. They're doing like 300 push-ups a day. And this 80-year-old politician broke through
and went in there and
made a vote. Yeah.
Wasn't there a guy who was like live streaming? Yes. Was that the one that you're talking about?
A lot of them were live streaming. One of them, he's 78 years old. He's 83. He climbed the wall, gets into the National Assembly, votes against martial law. He's a full-blown grandpa. And there's pictures of him just dead asleep after the vote.
Where?
In the National Assembly. They pass it, martial law is vetoed, and then he just knocks out on the chair.
Because it's past his bedtime.
Yeah, he's so tired. Also, this is the 6th martial law act in his life. So he's been around town. He's seen a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he goes viral. Because also a lot of younger lawmakers were under fire. So a lot of younger politicians, they were outside the building screaming, recording, live streaming, like, they're not letting us in. Democracy is dead. Meanwhile, 83-year-old Harabaji went in, casted his vote, and is now sleeping. So a lot of people were like, really? Young generation? Like, we could maybe do a little better. Like, don't embarrass us. Yeah. Officially, majority of the National Assembly, not everybody showed up. Most of the conservatives did not show up to vote. Only like a few handful of them did. And they all voted against martial law. But it was mainly the Democratic Party. And they were all cheering in unison. Everybody outside was cheering. And a lot of people feel the real reason that President Yoon was seeking martial law is his desire to evade investigations and to not get impeached.
That's so...
Yeah.
It's almost like I guess you can kind of foresee what is this going to lead to, right? Are you going to turn this into North Korea? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of weird that you would do something like this. Almost there's no forethought.
No. And it's very interesting because I mean, the water is so deep in this case, and I don't want to bore anybody and go too deep, but previous to martial law being enacted at 11 p.m., Kim Gun-hee went to her plastic surgeon's office for 3 hours. There are allegations that she was under propofol, the anesthetic that makes you feel euphoria, that she was just getting a hit before, and there's even juxtapositions of her on this whole Europe trip with her husband. So these are diplomatic events. These are state events. She goes to Europe and she brings the doctor, the president's doctor. So each president gets to choose their own doctor, right? Most people will choose like an internal medicine doctor or something, I assume, or like a surgeon. They choose a plastic surgeon as their main doctor. Very strange. Like, what are we doing? Just Botox on the trail? What's happening? She brings him to Europe, and that whole European trip, a lot of citizens have gathered that she looks very dizzy and woozy. She looks like she's falling asleep half the time. She looks like when she's climbing up the stairs to the presidential jet, she's stumbling. She's like teeter-tottering. People thought it was maybe he's there to administer propofol during the entirety of the trip. So there's a lot of these allegations that make the whole water even deeper. There were allegations that Kim Geun-hee was a high-end escort prior to marrying the now impeached president. So there's a lot of just a lot of depth in a lot of these rumors. Which you were talking about how there's no foresight into any of this, right? This also becomes a huge news cycle where there is this reporter named Kim Jun, and some people who don't like him call him a major conspiracy theorist. Some people who love him call him an investigative reporter. I think it really just depends on which side of the aisle that you're on. But he alleges that this whole thing, people thought that Yoon was just mindlessly playing checkers. Maybe he was playing chess. He says that he received personal information from a foreign intelligence officer. A lot of Koreans are like, it's got to be the United States. We don't know. That's the real plan of the martial law, was to force a war, which, take all of this, if you haven't already, the entire episode with like a whole gallon of salt, because it's politics and nobody ever tells the truth. He says the plan goes like this. Someone must die. The People's Party leader. That's going to be the person that dies. So it's going to be the person on Yoon's side. The leader of Yoon's party is going to die. And then North Korean uniforms are going to be buried nearby to draw connections that North Korean operatives have come in to assassinate the People's Party leader. Then, to take the plan a step further, several US soldiers based in South Korea will be killed. And then the US will think it's from North Korea, so then they'll come in and they'll wage a war. And then some people say it's not even a war of the Koreas. Some people allege maybe this is a proxy war facilitated to piss off China and then it's a whole thing. He further states that he received tips about a potential biochemical terror attack. Even saying it, he clarifies, look, I haven't been able to verify all the facts. It sounded so outrageous to me. I'm just telling you what this foreign intelligence officer told me. I'm not telling you anything more. It sounds like something out of a novel. But I will say the source comes from a very friendly country with an embassy in South Korea. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I will say he is a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but I mean, what do I know about conspiracy theories? Who knows which ones are true, which ones are not, which ones are crazy? But the Democratic leader of South Korea has even said, yeah, this one's a little crazy. There's no proof in any of this. Other people say, well, the CIA has done crazier things to disrupt regimes in different countries.
So we did know people in Korea at that point when this happened, they were scared because they don't know what this means. It could literally lead to something with North Korea. And shit can go down.
Because I think also there were escalating tensions with North Korea and things were already not looking good. And I think that people like to scoff at North Korea because it's Rocket Man and he's obsessed with his rockets. But also you just never know. Mm-hmm. And with that, he has undeclared martial law within 6 hours. And recently, he has been formally impeached as president. The National Assembly impeaches the acting president as well and the prime minister, Han Duck-soo. And now we have, it's like...
Wait, so they impeached a bunch of people?
Yeah, the prime minister was also impeached. So then he couldn't be the acting president after President Yoon gets impeached. And it's just like... So many people are getting impeached. Now, there is the deputy prime minister and minister of economy and finance will be the acting president. But also... So
it's constantly like a different acting president in South Korea. Right
I will say it's like there's really not a president right now. They're going to have like a speedy election, like a snap election that's going to take place early June.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is wild.
So, that's going to be very interesting. And the president and his wife are now moving back to Acro Vista, their personal residence. And a lot of residents there are not happy about any of this. But most Koreans are pretty positive that both of them are going to be in prison soon.
Oh.
Like they're going to be investigated for corruption and all sorts of things. It's just a matter of time. It seems like probably the front runner for becoming the next president in South Korea is Lee Jae-myung. He is the Democratic Party leader. He lost to Yoon in 2022. But I don't know, maybe nobody should be president of South Korea because you really just don't have the best luck or the best feng shui because that man was also stabbed in the neck last year. Someone who really hated him came up to him, pretended to be a fan, hugged him, and then stabbed him in the neck. He survived. Seems like he will be the front runner, but it's just, a lot of Koreans are like, maybe none of us should try to be president because it doesn't seem good. But also, we need a good president. And so with that, that is the current case of what is happening in South Korea and who was running the country for the past 2 years, because people think it's Kim Gun-hee and her shaman.
And the movie that came out about Kim recently.
So the documentary came out. This was before martial law was enacted. And it mainly had to do with the Dior bag and some of the recorded conversations that she had with an opposition journalist.
So the movie came out,
Yes.
and then the martial law happened.
Yes. And then, or like the movie was made, martial law happens, people start flocking to the movies, and everyone is like, wow, the documentary producers are probably making so much money, but also you might go missing, so be careful.
What do you mean you might go missing?
I don't know, shamanism, power, corruption. Crazier things have happened. But a lot of foreigners are just writing one thing. I just want to see the Dior bag that rocked the nation. Is it that pretty of a bag? Yeah, it's been crazy. Let me know in the comments. What are your thoughts on this? And obviously, I tried to do as much research. So we had our Korean researchers help assist in gathering most of the data. We went through all of the English sources that we could find that pertain to a lot of the stuff that we were talking about. I was talking to my parents. I was talking to family members. I was talking to friends in Korea, just trying to get a good, clear picture. And it was really difficult because obviously it's concerning politics. So everybody's going to have their own perspective of who's right and who's wrong. So then to just kind of wither down that and get to the general, what's happening over there, this is what we got to. But if you live in Korea, or if you know anything more or anything that's really important, please let us know in the comments, because I read all the comments and I just want to know. But thank you for listening. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.